It was the largest naval invasion the world had ever seen, more than 4,000 ships and over 140,000 men. A fleet so massive, it dwarfed the D-Day landings 700 years before they happened. Their mission? Conquer Japan. They were the unstoppable forces of the Mongol Empire, warriors from China, Mongolia, and Korea, led by Kublai Khan, the most powerful man on earth. But as they approached Japan's shores, the sky darkened, the winds shifted, and then the sea rose against them. A colossal typhoon, sudden, violent, and relentless, struck the Mongol fleet off the coast of Kyushu. Ships shattered, men drowned by the tens of thousands. The invasion was over before it began. To the Japanese, this was no accident. It was a miracle, a kamikaze, a divine wind sent by the gods to save their homeland. What caused this massive invasion? Why did the Mongols fail? And how did a single storm shape centuries of Japanese history? This is the true story of the lost navy of the Mongol Empire. A tale of ambition, survival, and the unstoppable power of nature. In the 13th century, the Mongol Empire was the largest contiguous land empire in history. Founded by the legendary Genghis Khan, it expanded rapidly through brutal military campaigns, stretching across Asia and into Eastern Europe. By the time his grandson, Kublai Khan, took power, the empire had reached its peak, and Kublai ruled the newly established Yuan dynasty in China. But even that wasn't enough. Kublai Khan's ambitions extended across the sea to the islands of Japan. He sent diplomatic envoys demanding that Japan become a tributary state. The Japanese refused, so Kublai turned to force. The first Mongol invasion came in 1274. A fleet of around 900 ships carried approximately 30,000 troops, Mongols, Chinese, and Koreans, across the sea to Japan's southern island, Kyushu. They landed near Hakata Bay and began attacking Japanese forces. The Mongols brought advanced weapons with them, including catapults launching explosive bombs made with gunpowder, possibly one of the first uses of such weapons in East Asian warfare. Their tactics were unfamiliar and overwhelming: coordinated formations, relentless volleys of arrows, and loud drums to intimidate their enemies. But the samurai, while less organized, were tenacious. They fought fiercely in small groups, challenging Mongol soldiers to single combat and pushing them back from fortified positions. After 2 days of battle, the Mongols suddenly withdrew. A storm damaged many of their ships, and the invaders retreated to Korea. The Japanese were relieved but uneasy. They had no idea Kublai Khan was already preparing a second, far more powerful invasion. In 1281, Kublai Khan launched the largest seaborne invasion the world had ever seen. This time, there were 2 separate fleets. The Eastern Rat Army, departing from Korea, had about 900 ships and 40,000 men. The Southern Rat Army, departing from ports in southern China, had around 3,500 ships and 100,000 men. Together, over 140,000 soldiers were sailing to Japan, a force that would not be rivaled until the 20th century. The goal was the same: land on Kyushu, crush the defenders, and force Japan into submission. But the Japanese had learned from the last invasion. They had built high stone walls along the coastline, particularly around Hakata Bay. Samurai forces were organized, stationed, and ready. When the Mongols arrived, they were met with strong resistance and, unexpectedly, with a refusal by the Japanese to allow them to land easily. The Mongol fleets were forced to anchor offshore for weeks, trying to regroup and coordinate their forces. During this stalemate, Japanese small boats launched night raids, setting fire to Mongol ships and harassing the invaders. But the deadliest threat was yet to come. In late August of 1281, as the Mongol fleet lingered offshore, a massive typhoon formed over the East China Sea. The storm moved quickly, fierce winds howled across the waves, and monstrous swells battered the ships. Most of the Mongol fleet was anchored in exposed, shallow waters, and many of the ships were poorly constructed, hurriedly built by forced labor from Chinese provinces. When the typhoon struck, the fleet was completely overwhelmed. Thousands of ships were torn apart. Some were thrown onto the rocky shore. Others were pulled out to sea and capsized. Tens of thousands of Mongol, Chinese, and Korean soldiers died in the storm. Estimates vary, but the death toll likely exceeded 100,000, one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history. Only a fraction of the force made it back to the mainland alive. To the Japanese, this wasn't just luck, it was divine intervention. They called the storm the Kamikaze, or divine wind. It was believed that the gods had sent the storm to protect Japan from invasion. This idea became deeply rooted in Japanese national identity, inspiring literature, religious belief, and even later historical events, including the World War II-era concept of kamikaze pilots, who were seen as invoking the same spirit of sacrifice and divine protection. The failed invasions had lasting effects. In Japan, the samurai class gained immense prestige for defending the nation. The Kamakura shogunate, Japan's military government, increased its coastal defenses and maintained a state of readiness for years, fearing another Mongol return. But the Mongols never came back. For Kublai Khan, the disaster was a costly and humiliating defeat. His empire remained vast, but this marked the outer limit of Mongol expansion in East Asia. The loss weakened the Yuan dynasty's grip on its subjects and drained imperial resources. Rebellions and internal strife followed in the decades to come. The story of the lost navy of the Mongol Empire remains one of the most dramatic turning points in military history, a moment when one of the greatest empires in the world was brought to its knees, not by armies, but by the raw power of nature. It's a reminder that even the most powerful civilizations are not invincible. And that sometimes, history is written not by generals or kings, but by the wind and the waves. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more epic true history. And let us know in the comments, should we cover more lost armies and forgotten battles? Thanks for watching. Please comment and subscribe if you enjoyed.